Okay. Let me shut the door first. First of all, let me tell you something. Let me begin this recording. Let me begin this recording. You know, I wouldn't say that. Let me begin this recording. And let me shut my window because this is private. You can catch it online. It'll be on YouTube. You have a phone, and that's where you can find it. Okay. So, because of the fact, right, because of the fact that the reason why a lot of people, I mean, you know, it's like I just got you know, watching like the watching the video of several musicians and artists and stuff like myself, you know, who have actually passed away in front of us. Nick Menza, who I had no idea that he even died. I'm a very, very avid fucking Megadeth fan. You know, Megadeth. You know, I think that it's amusing to me, for us, you know, to carry the cross that we carry. Right? If you think that you're strong enough to go running around the world with a band's name that means death in the millions, then I just say, you know, so be it. But you know, and there's nothing more than that. Megadeth, I've always loved Megadeth and stuff, right? And if anybody who knows me from the very, very beginning, you know, it's like, you know, I mean, as far as like my thing is concerned, as far as like Kane, the whole thing and stuff, Kane this, Kane that, Kane bitch and everything else and stuff, right? It's not very much unlike what, you know, Chance the Rapper had to go through, right? You know, you get to a situation where you realize that in a capitalist society, right, you know, if we were to stay by the rules and play by the rules that have been placed before us, never mind the rules that, you know, don't exist anymore and stuff just because you're an older black man now. I mean, you know, we all sat at the table, we all sat around the table when we were kids playing Monopoly. What is the game based on? You get yourself some property, you make a little bit of money, right? There are no racial lines. There are no class war lines and stuff. And so as a child, you know, it just really teaches you, you know, get yourself some property. Some buy a utility or something, which is a little bit harder. You know, but buy yourself some property. Somebody lands on it, get your money. It's a game about money. But for what I realized as I grew older, revolutionary by nature. Let me begin this by letting you know. Revolutionary by nature. I was born in 1968, 4 days after King was shot. 2 years later, I survived the Molotov cocktail because they didn't want black people living on the street. So as a child, you run into a lot of people. No, I don't want to be your dog. As a matter of fact, I'd rather report you to the ASPCA. But at the same time, you run into people who will sit back and tell you that, they don't tell you this. It's just something that, I had to tell this guy the other day and stuff, right? I said, yeah, that's why, I say I feel you. Yeah, because that's why, if it wasn't for black people and stuff, right, there'd be so many things. I mean, we come up with these little catchphrases and stuff like that to let you know. Then you can go ahead and relax. It's really not this serious. Oh, it's all good. Nah, don't trip. Oh, it's all good. What I'm saying? Like whatever. You know, um, Stuff like that and stuff, right? And somewhere along the lines, like I said, revolutionary by nature, because before rock and roll, I was black. And the things that I witness now in this world that I won't talk about and stuff, but one of the main things, I won't talk about it because I do rock and roll. Right? I do rock and roll. I left the church a long time ago. Imagine me sitting down hanging out with the youth pastor. I do rock and roll. I do rock and roll. And I do rock and roll good. I do it loud. And I do what I do. And it's something that that has grown with me since I was a young man. I was already tattooed about 11 and a half, 12 years old. Run away from home. Already drinking fizz, taking handfuls of pills, and on the run, right? On the run. Now knowing that I grew up with a lot of good people, right? Sometimes, I won't go there. But I remember my friends, sitting back and telling me and stuff, right? My good friend, the one that gave me my tattoo when I was a kid, right? They would joke. I remember one time the big joke. He said, we gotta hold him down and put a swastika on his forehead. And I'm a 12-year-old kid on the run. Which is why a lot of people, if you know me, if you talk to, like, especially my brother, that I'm the kind of motherfucker that'll tell you that shit. Don't ask my neighbor, turn to me. Right, but my brother and I know will let you know. This is the attitude that I have has been formed and forged like steel over a long period of time. Like I said, revolutionary by nature, because I always use logic. I'm the logical one. And when I hear that in the background, don't you ever put your fucking hands on me, because I will sit back and I'll bring it to you. Because I would sit back and I would go home and I would ask you, why did you call me? Why did you say me? Why? And I'll tell you one more time, and I can't, because like I said, I just rock and roll. Now, whatever. But this is an attitude that has been formed and forged over a long period of time. When I was younger, I had a friend named Bo. Bo was a Long Beach stoner, dude. I love him to death. I looked at him. I said, you know what? He's a good guy. And stuff, right? But my attitude is forged out of that story as well. And it really doesn't. My story doesn't really care. My story is this. It is really sad. It is really, really sad when you sit back and you think to yourself that you can change the world, and you run into a bunch of mean bastards, right? That's what happened with him, and now this is part B, right? Because he wanted to change the world as well, and I'm trying to change the world this time, because this is how we play the game that we play, me and Father, right? And so you sit back and you would say to yourself, and I've told you already in videos, right? And that my story is taking a little bit more different meaning. A couple of days ago and stuff, I wrote my mother, told her I thought somebody was trying to kill me. Told her, I said, you know what I went through down there in Highland? I said, I feel like it's the same thing over again, except up here. And I would ask myself, why? Right? And I know that right now she's asking herself why. I sent her some pictures along with it as well. I said, it feels like the same thing again. But now If you really knew what I knew, some people would ask for rocks to hide them. But that I keep to myself because I do rock and roll. The quest that I'm on, really is, like I tell everybody, I said the devil is my friend. The devil is my friend. The one that I hate is a lying fucking rat. That's who I don't like. The devil is my friend. Right? It's probably really, and part of, he's part of the student. I won't go much further than that. The person that I really hate is a lying fucking rat. Right? Or a peasant who thinks he's a king. These are the things that I find detestable. Right? Because in order for these things to take place, there have to be people around that agree. Now, I do everything I can every day to say, bow down to something greater than yourself. Right? It's as simple as that. This has been told you before, I'm telling it to you again. Because it really does not matter what you think. It doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what you feel. Most of the things we feel, nobody knows about. We keep them to ourselves. And we ponder over them and we think about it later. But as I walk into this future and I walk towards my destiny, which is also my birthright, if I was to sit here and tell you, and I don't even have to tell you, but if I tell you that our Father's blood runs through my veins, that is me, right? For you to want to argue that, really inside of me, I'm a thinker. You can tell me that I'm lying, but I'm going to call you a liar. You can tell me that I'm a liar, but I'm going to call you a liar. Because why would I lie about such things like that when with things around us that would stop us from that, like God? But at the same time and stuff, right, the thing that I do rock and roll. And what's really under my skin right now is the lack of respect that people have for people like myself. Now, I saw a show, I went to go see The Colt in Riverside when I was down in Southern Cal. You guys get this and stuff, right? When I was in SoCal, I was messing with 96.7 K-Cal with my friends, and I hope they're still my friends. Because, as stated before, I didn't find out about their trial until after, during the midst of my trial. Well, these guys want me to hang out and stuff with them and shit like that or whatever. Right? But at the same time, I was messing with 96.7 K-Cal. And I got to see a lot of really good shows. Literally, right here, the guy behind me on the poster, Motorhead, treat a man like an icon his whole goddamn life. And then after he dies, it's like, it's more than that. It's more than that. You'll sit back and you say, the one thing that really, really breaks my heart and stuff, right, is that when ladies showed up in Riverside, you got to respect that someone would give an opening fucking band, right? And and I remember that night because it wasn't too long afterward that he died. My friend was actually able to give me an autographed picture that night from that guy of the band that I had on my wall. But of course, like I say, the day that changed my life and left me on the mission that I'm on right now. I came in there to my apartment and stuff, right? And everything was gone. Well, it wasn't gone, but my guitars, all that stuff was just laying in a fucking pile like it was trash. And I had already told those people down there. I had already told those people I said, you stick your hand in my father's pocket one more time, you're gonna fuck around and get him chopped off. Right? That's what I told them down there, and I'm still on that mission. A little bit closer and stuff right now, waiting to see if I'm gonna be able to play with Duff McKagan. I knew the Velvet Revolver was following me, as well as Black Sabbath. But this isn't about my accomplishments or what I've accomplished or what I would have done last week if I had been there. I'm talking about the respect that is given to someone who is already mother tested and pre-approved to go ahead and do the things that he has to do. But aware of the factors. So the thing that really bothers me, first of all, is, first of all, Dimebag, that was murder. When you go after somebody, when you go after, and listen, let me tell you, let me tell you something. The decline into the world's darkness that exists today would be a lot more darker if the man above us didn't have the patience that he has. And I can sit back here and say this to you because he helped me run and hide from my foes and my enemies. And whilst hiding, I heard things that I just, I couldn't believe. But then to come out of it and realize that not only is it true, but the respect that is given to somebody who you know that you should bow down to. And believe me, I don't walk down the street and ask you to kiss my fucking ring. That's not me. Really, I'm a really, really good dude until you push me. Right? I don't walk down the street and say, here, kiss my fucking ring. Anything like that. I didn't wear a ring anyway. I'm just saying. But for anybody who would ask that, what difference does that make? Diamonds really are only found one place in this whole fucking world, and that's in Africa, my country. A country that I have dedicated my life to, helping to rebuild. Some of these guys walk down the street, they have actually nothing to do, right? But that is my goal, to help rebuild my country and stop these fuckers from stealing from me, right? Because they've been ripping me off since I can always remember, right? Diamonds are only found in fucking Africa, right? That's the only place. Lots of people will sit back and tell you. Now, I don't want to go into what's actually being stolen from me, but I'll let you know that the lack of respect that is shown to some of my compadres, the people that I aspire to be like, the people that I, have designed myself after my whole life, live or dead. The respect that is getting, let's take Pop, for example, which is when really everything kind of went fucking crazy. Now, this is the very first time on the microphone, as far as, hip-hop is concerned, stuff, that a man comes before you and tells you that he thinks somebody's trying to kill him. See, with me, people want to sit back and they ask me why I'm so insane and why I run, why I act the way that I do, and it's really not an act, it's my personality. I'm a hothead, and I like, it's like I'm a hothead. So right now it's like I'm waiting right now to see if Duff McKagan is gonna play, or if I don't play with Duff McKagan, I want to play with Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses. I had to take off from my Facebook, and I hit him right before I left and let him know, because I have my following as well, and I know it's insanity. I let him know. I said, listen, it's only It's on the channel, page and stuff. For it has a least amount. But then you got other guys out there who have followings. You know what I'm talking about. You can have like 6 or 7, 8 different things of yourself, like all over the place. But believe me, it's sure you have a following. And so the respect that's given to someone who actually, you know, the respect that's given. I remember looking at that picture of 50 Cent and seeing him in a bulletproof vest. Other people might think it's cool. I didn't. I was like, man, that man should be clothed with nothing but your fucking respect. Because first of all, you can't do what he does. You can't even come close to it. There's no boundaries in my mind except for God. He likes to laugh. You get mad. You want to talk shit about Nas because he calls himself God's son. But then at the same time, when we pray, what do we say? We say our Father, right? But because of the fact this man says, I'm God's son. Now that's how the story goes. He's done nothing wrong at all, and he's more of a son than most of these people out here who are throwing their condemnation at him and everything else. You can't rock a fucking stadium, can you? You can't do that at all. You can't sit there. You can't sit there and even dream about stepping in front of 30,000. And women too, not even busting a sweat. That's nothing. You can't do that. He's more of a son than you are. And because of the fact that you question him and you give him that condemnation, makes it even more of a son than you are. Now, because of the fact logic rules my world. Logic. I mean, lots of people have common sense. Everybody's supposed to have common sense. That's common sense. That's the sense everybody has is common. Don't touch that, it's hot. That's common sense. But the way that people act nowadays, I don't know. I think that most of these people have respect that God gave a fucking housefly when it comes to dealing with things that are greater than themselves. And I know why they do it. I know exactly why they do it. So to me, let me tell you something. If you ever even dream about taking something from me, you better dream and think about giving it back, because I want everything, right? I want everything back, everything that you've ever taken from me, because it doesn't belong to me. But that's another conversation for another day, probably tomorrow. At the same time, I'm looking at Dimebag, and I'm realizing that afterwards, after it all went down, I'm looking at a picture of Dimebag in a magazine. I look on his arm, he's got the fucking ace of spades. We got it in the same fucking place. It said, mine's the ace of spades, around it says, rest in peace, Lemmy. Right? I don't believe in coincidences. Immediately I said, that's my boy, dude, and I'm gonna ride till the fucking wheels fall off, because I don't agree with that. And I also know that the respect, I took the blows, I know. The dime's out there, there's nothing. And you know lots of people and stuff, right? Well, I know Einstein, but I'll let you know, I'm gonna play you all the way to the grave. Lots of people will sit back and they'll ask me, they sit back and they try to act surprised, as in, they wonder why I have the attitude that I have, why I'm such a hothead, why, I have anger that can fucking rip up a fucking mountain. They ask me these things and stuff, right? They ask me these things. But being a man who has looked out his window and saw people chase away kids from listening to my music, which is a no-no. But believe me, these are the same guys who will get in your fucking car and chase your son down because he has a BMW or a Mercedes, right? And it's against the rules, you know. And like the Pharaoh, my son is just as important, if not as important as you, right? Lots of people will. Another reason why I'm here is to defraud the hoax that has been told again and again and again. You know, tell me what I'm not, you're not either. Christ is a deity. Deities don't die. I am the die part. If you can get that to your head, then you have an understanding. Other than that, all your condemnation and everything else just fucks up the story. But I'm sitting back and I'm watching these things and stuff take place. And believe me, I do rock and roll. I'm not trying to chase away anything. Definitely not my alabaster. And I'm sitting back and I'm wondering to myself, you know, I'm wondering like all these things, you know, because, you go ahead and you play the game that you're going to play. But I'm going to walk away with the prize because you know what? I'm a thespian. I can do whatever the fuck I want to do. If somebody wanted to come up to me right now and tell me, you know, can you play a priest, you know, in a boarding school or something, I don't think about it, look at it. I suppose maybe I could, you know, and look at, you know, all I can do is pray about it, I suppose. But I would sit back and I would say I could do that. Because I have no boundaries in my mind except for God. Our problem is so fucking easy to find. You know, and a lot of the times and stuff, you sit back, and because of the fact that I really don't have time to fuck around with a lot of these people and shit, I've already received my phone call. I'm gonna kill you, motherfucker. I've already got that. I got that phone call already, right? In reality. So, and throughout history, anybody who's got that fucking phone call, you tell me what's happening. And it couldn't happen to a better guy. Let me tell you something. And you know why? Because I'm smart, I'm black, and I have an inheritance that they want. Now, you can call it what you want to, but you're not going to get it. And a matter of fact, I'm going to lay it on the line right now. You'll sit back. You go ahead and you play the game that you want to play. Well, I just flow through life because that's what I can do. You know, you can eat my dust. But when I see Dimebag, which was murder, like I said, we have to, tattoo in the same place. There are no such thing as coincidences in my book. And you can't throw the book at me because I used to read it to my friends in first grade. You know, I love that story, but we won't go there. I do rock and roll. Lots of the things and stuff, the respect that is given towards people. I had a friend on my way back up here named Reggie in Los Angeles. And when I talked to him, it was like, I would hear his voice, and I'm just like, oh, man, and it's a voice that makes me happy. It's a voice that makes me happy because Tupac actually had a rather, very, very beautiful voice as well. One morning, I had to heal up from my thing that happened down Highland. My thing, I had to heal up in Los Angeles on my way up here. No medication because of a liar. Like I told you, the devil is my friend. It's a lying fucking rat that I can't stand, right? And because of that, some lies, let me tell you something what I've learned in this life. Some lies, man, some things are a lie, and some things are a goddamn lie. Everybody does it. Says, no, Steve, you're not that fat. Stuff like that. But some things are a lie, and some things are a goddamn lie. So as I continue on this road, where it's in first, I said road to Zion, and I guess I'm riding at the boost of hell. If so be it, then so be it. But remember this. Remember this. Remember this. The legacy that I'm trying to leave behind is what I'm actually doing right now is I'm planting a tree. Right? I'm trying to plant a fucking goddamn tree. What does a tree do? What does a tree do when it's done? It leaves. Right? And so I sit back and stuff, right? Because of the fact that, you know, I'm looking at these things and stuff. I'm looking at these things. I'm looking at these things, right? And once again, as we wait for them on the other side of town to do it right now, right? You know what I'm saying? You know, we are. It's the same thing over and over again. That's what my father told me. That's what our father told me. He said it's the same thing every time. He said it's the same thing every single time. Every single time. And I sat with him, and I sat with him, and I sat with him, and he helped me. And he's the most important person or being that I'll ever know in this existence. Right? But to sit back and know that he's a righteous judge and that he's benevolent and everything else that goes along with it, and just tell me, watch my mind snap. I said, okay, keep up with the rest of them. I said, okay, and I'm going to run with it. But the respect, when I first got back in town here in San Francisco, I told the cops, I said, it's family and it's personal. It's family and it's personal. As I sit back and I watch, you know, this, because it's the respect that you have for something that is greater than yourself, that is going to fucking kill you. If you're walking down the street and you run into Robert De Niro, it's your respect for the man that's going to save both of you. If you ain't got no fucking respect for the man, we can both do something stupid, huh? You know, it's really nothing when you fucking think about it afterwards. Having to fucking hide in a different state, that ain't shit. Listen, let me tell you something. Lots of times it's so people will sit back, and because of the madness that I've had to dive into this time because of your unbelief, I sit back and I never think about myself. If I thought about myself, I'd have been dead like years ago. You know, let me begin by telling you that if you set out to save the world, like a lot of us, if you set out to save the world, you can sit down on the porch with anybody, somebody from Turkey, somebody from Bolivia, somebody from Peru, somebody from Colombia, somebody from Russia, somebody from Africa, somebody from Lithuania, from Australia, because you care about the world. The things we're looking for are so easy to find, you know. And you know, once you show up on the scene, then it's just, I mean, I guess there's nothing we can do. There ain't nothing we can do. For any of you guys who are going to be watching this and stuff that may have like a brighter button on your fucking television screen, go ahead and try to use that and see if that raises up your intelligence a little bit. If not, there's nothing we can do for you. But I refuse to sit here and watch family, you know, act as though, and you to act, because lots of people, what? They don't know what happened, but that's what happened. There was a whole lot of idiots, and there was a whole lot of people who felt that what God had to offer them, they didn't want. So it was all the conflict that began in the mind, and then you got to put it right. Well, he's got to find out I made it. Well, goddamn it, that's what I made, and what is the problem? Because I myself have to stand in front of the Creator on Judgment Day, and he said, well, it's a perfect plan. I mean, I don't know, like, you know, whatever. So it don't, you know, and when we talk about mercy, it's already been given to you. It's already been given to you. For those of you who want your cake and eat it too, You know, for those of you who want your cake and eat it too, go to a fucking different restaurant. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, with me, what you see is what you get. And that's how I live my life. Right? And I don't give a cripple crab's clutch about what anybody has to say about any of that. Because the sacrifice that we give and we put up daily is extreme. It's extreme. It is so extreme. Such a price to pay and still be unforgiven. Such a price to pay and still be unforgiven. So, you know, lots of times my mind frame is that of, you know, it's just, I just don't. If you don't, if I walk up to you and I give you, like Dimebag gave you, respect, admiration, admiration, that's all I want back. That's the only thing I want back. Now I'm also realizing that, you know, people are gonna piss you off and stuff. What the fuck, you goddamn baby? People are gonna piss you off. That's human nature. It's human nature. But I think that you guys should direct your anger at the right people instead of at me. I think you should ask questions about why the police can tell you that somebody can overdose on methamphetamines and kill two people. One guy killed two black people, of course, right? That's all he does. And said that they sat in his house and overdosed on methamphetamines. Lemmy himself will sit there and tell you, oh, it's impossible. No, you can't do that. Lemmy himself will tell you that. Oh, no, it's impossible. You know, you can't. So I think that the people, the reason why, I think the reason is, instead of directing it at me, because right now, let me tell you right, first of all and foremost, I'm not worried about anybody else. I'm worried about myself. But I'm watching soldiers who are passed on, Dimebag, who I'm living for right now. You know? I'm watching soldiers like Tupac, who I'm running with, who I'm living with right now, who I'm living for. Right? The respect. I'm talking about Hendrix, who I'm living for right now. Soldiers who have passed on, who have passed through this world, while you sit there and you try to tell me that I'm your problem. Right? That I'm your problem. I think that the world should really wake up. They're calling people niggers in England. I'm on my way. I already told them. I'm already on my way. I don't give a cripple crab's crutch. The world's mine anyway. I paid for it with my blood. Second of all, you know, I already let them know I'm on my way. And you can't stop me. You can't stop me. You can't stop me. So do I. I got one big friend in the sky named Jehovah. And I don't care about your friends. You know, at the same time and stuff, mercy that may be given to someone that's already been given. Let me tell you, with what I've been through, with the local government, the government telling me that I can get hung, and all this other kind of stuff that put me on the path that I'm on right now, right? And these men are probably still going to work every day. Like, you know, like nothing ever happened. Just because you can say some things don't mean that you should. But I'm also aware of the fact that it means that there's a peasant on the goddamn throne somewhere, and I'm going to dethrone him. There's no way you can hide him from me. There's no way you can. But I do rock and roll. You know, if you really want to get, you know, on my good side, admit to yourself. Because right now, like I said, after the letter that I had to write my mother a couple of days ago, why should I trust you? You don't even know what a fucking signal sounds like. Why should I trust you? Why should I trust you? You know the funny thing about music or art, especially like, you know, like thespian or music, the most craziest thing about it is you can hear it when I'm working on it. Why should I trust you? Come on, give me one good reason. Now, after watching the man who murdered John Lennon interviewed on Larry King Live and talk about it like he was ordering a goddamn pizza, like it was nothing. If you really know anything, you know what a beautiful light John Lennon was. If you know anything at all, you know that him and Yoko are really in love. And I say that if a man wants to get on television and sleep with his wife, stay in bed for a whole goddamn week with the cameras on him to promote world peace, you should let him. Right? But the world that we live in right now, I gotta cut this short because I probably end up fucking breaking it into 2 parts because of the length. But let me tell you something. For those who have passed on before me, as I walk down the same goddamn road, and you can't stop me from walking it, the road to heaven. What are you gonna tell me? You know? For the love of John, for the love of God, and for the love of Christ, and everything else that guides our path. I say, if you don't like me, fuck you, fuck everybody you know. Because that's how I get in. Right? And these might be the truest words I ever spoke. These must be. Like I said, you can't change my mind. I've already got my phone call. I've already got that phone call. I got that phone call on YouTube. I've already got my phone call. There is nothing that you are going to be able to do to say to me as my time fucking goes away like a fucking sand in an hourglass. And you sit back and say that it's nothing. I'm going to argue with you all the way to the grave. And guess what? If I was formed from the dirt of this world, why would I spend all the rest of my existence floating around in outer space? I'll be back. But I'll let you know that also, that's something that I want to talk about. All I know is, but if you have a problem with me, mercy has already been given to you. I just want to sing you a song. Mercy, that's mercy. Mercy has already been given to you. This is a film. This is something that needs to be photographed and filmed. You know, I've already given you that mercy. Right, that's mercy. Throughout the whole goddamn universe. And knowing that if you go after one of us and we're righteous, the whole universe will plot against you, and I'll be right there plotting with them. And I'll also let you know, just like that, for us, you get involved with what men get involved with, you get their reward. And I'll be right next to the Father. You get involved with what men get involved with, you get the reward with that. I say peace, Cain, bitch. Respect the motherfucking architect.